Hello everyone, welcome back to another Databricks session. Today we'll talk about Azure Databricks cluster settings. Configuration of Databricks cluster is very important at the time of creating uh, each cluster. We know that we can divide the cluster based on the personas, but again, while setting up, we need to understand different uh, points that we need to take care. So we will see what are the policies available, different cluster mode to improve the performance, what is the best practice we need to apply, and also the cluster sizing. Based on the persona, the cluster size are different. That also will look into that. Policy. What exactly policy? A cluster policy is a tool or service that Databricks provided to us to limit a user or group's cluster creation permission based on set of policy rules. The policy rules, Databricks by default they give multiple policies. In addition, we can create our own policies. These policies are required to limit the users for certain activities such as creating the cluster with prescribed settings or creating certain number of clusters, simplify the user interface instead of providing the entire cluster settings to the user while they create the cluster. We can hide the settings which is not required for them. This also helps to control cost by limiting per cluster maximum cost. So while creating the cluster, we can see the different policies, that is default policies available by Databricks. One is unrestricted. As the name suggests, it will give unrestricted access to the user in all the uh, settings, right? We have a personal compute policy, which means the person can the compute is allocated only for the personal use of the specific user. We have legacy shared compute, which means that this is the actual policy when Databricks came up with the cluster concept, right? So in order to have the backward compatibility, they kept legacy shared compute. Power user compute allow the user to create their clusters. So next we'll go for the node. There are two different node method. One is a single node and other one is multi-node. As the name suggests, single node have only worker node. It will not have, sorry, single node will have only the driver node, not the worker node. So if your workload is very high, then normally we should not go for single node. We have to go for the multi-node where you can set the scale up and scale down based on your workload. Okay, now we'll talk about access mode. There are three types of cluster access mode: single, shared, and no isolation shared. On the bottom, I have given one table where you can see that previously what the name it was, and Databricks changed to new naming. So in the new naming, we have only three. Previously, it was like a standard and high concurrency. It was like no isolation shared. Standard plus credential pass-through checkbox. Now it is single user plus credential pass-through checkbox. High concurrency plus table access is again shared. High concurrency plus credential pass-through, again it is like shared plus credential pass-through checkbox. So so single user can access only one user workspace, and it is associated with Databricks data catalog, Unity catalog. We'll talk about Unity catalog later. And no isolation shared. It is shared between the workload is shared between multiple users, and there is no isolation of each users. Shared, you need to enable credential pass-through if it is not associated with the uh, Unity catalog, and table access control is not enabled. So if it is credential pass-through, it is the legacy access based on the user credential. It can access the data lake. Now we'll talk about the performance session of the Databricks cluster. As you are aware, we have different personas that use Databricks clusters. That includes data engineers, data scientists, data analysts, etc. The workload requirement for each of these persona difference, right? So the workload required for data engineers may not be the same workload required for data scientists, where they will be using multiple tables to join and transform the data and come up with some kind of output, right? So data analysts, it may be different. They may not be required similar kind of workload that data scientists and data engineers required. So we always have to consider what kind of persona the cluster is going to use. Normally, for each persona, we can have a separate cluster. We also have to find out how much is the cost and what kind of runtime they need, and how many workers, whether minimum workers is required and maximum workers is required. So as I told you before, we have a single node and multi-node. So in case of multi-node, we can have n number of instances, worker node, right? So we always have to, it's always better to have the latest Databricks table runtime version, and worker type you can select. So what happens is, when I have this requirement to understand the workload for data science, sometimes they will come back to us, say that their cluster is not performing well. So normally what we do is we just give the normal simple workload to them, and based on their workload we'll upgrade the system step by step. We'll not go very high at the initial itself, so we just monitor what kind of workload they are uh, running, and based on that we gradually increase it. So Microsoft says that if it is like data scientist, they may be using high optimized queries, high memory utilized queries. So we need to uh, go for the memory optimized cluster. When setting up the cluster, you also have to check how much is the worker and driver capacity that you require, right? If your worker capacity is very high, like let's say 200 250 GB, it can work very fast. Whereas if you're keeping multiple workers, let's say 8 workers you kept it, and only 25 GB memory or 14 GB memory, then it will take a lot of time to perform the task, right? So you always have to keep in mind, if your capacity of the worker is very high, your work will be done very fast. If the capacity is less workers, then it will take a lot of time to complete. So the charge, the Databricks workspace charge, is based on the runtime, right? So you need to have the trade-off. And also you need to keep in mind that if you keep minimum 2 workers, and max 8 workers. It starts with the 2 workers, and if it finds that the capacity or workload is much higher than that can be done using 2 workers, it has to scale up. But while scaling up, it normally takes time, right? So if you think that the data scientist reach the position where as soon as they start their work it requires 4 or 5 workers, then it's better to keep 4 minimum workers, then gradually scale up to 10 or 16, whatever the numbers that suitable for the workload. So increase that capacity in terms of memory, in terms of cores, then keep minimum 4 or 5 workers based on the load, then scale up. That will improve your work. You also have to make sure that the cluster is shutting down after some period of inactivity. So by default it is 120, but you can reduce to 60 minutes also. If you enable auto scaling, that will automatically scale up based on the workers that you given the maximum numbers. All right, so this is what I want to cover in this session, but stay tuned. I am going to cover Unity Catalog, Azure Pricing Calculator, and much more in coming sessions. Till then, goodbye. If you would like to receive more such videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you would like to connect with me, I have provided my details here, my email and LinkedIn. So thank you very much.